Netflix could introduce advertisements as early as this year, which means they must really be struggling for money right now. Like, which is funny to me because as much as I actually go through phases usually with my streaming services. They tend to be like I watch a lot of one show for a couple of weeks and then it disappears for a long time and I don't use that service again. There's very rarely do I go back to a service over multiple shows at a time. Usually I watch something there and then go and watch something on another platform, whether it's Hulu or Amazon Prime. But Netflix is like looking for ways that they can make money again. And apparently the only thing they can think of doing is cracking down on joint account or people who share their account passwords, which of course is hilarious. And B, they're gonna introduce a free version, or I'm sorry, not a free version, an ad-supported version, not even free. You still pay for it.
It's crazy to me that the worse a product gets now, the more it costs.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Like who else remembers $8 a month Netflix?
Yep.
No ads. And I remember that like that was a selling point of streaming instead of cable television. No commercials. Like that was the most revolutionary thing.
Plus, it was very like consolidated. All the stuff was in one or two places because it wasn't a saturated market.
And they had licensed content instead of original content. That sucks.
Yeah, it really does suck. It's no good. I just want to say that I hope that Netflix right now is failing because of what they tried to do with Cuties. That's my 2 cents.
So I never saw the movie, so
Not
I can't.
good.
I would hope
I
you
canceled
didn't.
over that.
I never saw.
Honestly, it's like it's so bad that you don't even need to watch it to have a good faith criticism of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Like it's that egregious.
I remember the director had like a really weird take because it was like a French director.
Of course they're French.
And
Come on.
And so it's like a lot of people are hoping they fail. I don't know if I buy that they will. They own too much of the market share. If anything, I see Disney and Netflix as good companies to get in on stock when they hit low points because they always seem to rebound. If I'm thinking cynically and in a capitalistic sense, I'm saying like, wait till Disney does something stupid, buy in, then, when they end up not screwing up quite as bad, the stock always jumps back up. As COVID restrictions lessen and the parks reopened, stock went back up, but never quite reached pre-pandemic levels. But to be fair, I'm not like an investor in any of these companies.
Speaking of doing something stupid, I am looking at Disney's stock prices right now. They're not doing well. And I remember when they went toe-to-toe with Florida, everyone was like, oh, Florida's going to learn today. And I was like, no, they're not. Disney's going to learn today because they have acres in Florida. They can't just pick up and move. So when they're being called on the carpet for this ridiculous social justice activism, they're gonna figure out which side their bread is buttered on for sure.
And Netflix has their own problem with making like really, really I think their biggest issue is they just suck at making original content.
Yes.
They flood the market.
If that's the direction that you're gonna veer into, you gotta make it work. Like you're booting off the content that people subscribed for and replacing it with trash.
Garbage.
The problem is they're not. I don't know if it's necessarily that they're booting it off. It's that all of these companies that originally made that stuff are starting their own streaming services and pulling it to their like. There's a joke that like if you want to launch your streaming service, you have to do one of three things. You have to get Friends, you have to get The Office, or you have to get I forget what the other ones. Those are the big
Seinfeld?
ones. Or Seinfeld. Those are the big three that you pull to your service if you want people to come originally. The X-Files is kind of
no, they don't have any one of those, do they?
They do. I don't think they have any of those now. They might have Seinfeld. I'm not sure. But it says Netflix could be set to introduce advertisements for certain subscribers as early as this year, if reports are to be believed. It's no secret that Netflix has been toying with the idea of offering some subscriptions that cost less money and contain advertising. But according to the New York Times, the employees have been told that the lower price tier for subscriptions could be in action as early as like the final 3 months of this year. So like October, November, December. So it's like, I don't know if either of you play, Dane would have been great. Like that's how they did it in video games. What they would do is you'd have like ads in your wait screen, right? But they're not talking about that. Like I found this other article and I'll come back to this. This is from Hollywood Reporter. It says streaming TV's next battlefront is free services, which is like I have friends who don't buy any of them. They use like Pluto TV or Freevee or I forget, or Tubi, which Tubi was bought by not William Shatner. Who's the other, Warren Buffett or something, right? I think he bought a huge stake in it at one point. Like he sold his, I could be misremembering this, but he sold all his Disney stock and then dumped it into a competitor.
Whoa.
Is that working out for it?
So, well, they're saying Tubi, all of these groups are increasing their market share because people are not like you and me. Like, I can't stand ads. I cannot. I use
I won't
YouTube
watch
Premium
services thing.
because I
Yeah.
hate watching ads.
Right.
Like, I'm willing to pay for it. Anything I can't put an ad blocker on, I will.
And YouTube has gotten worse with the ads because
Yeah.
they never used to stack them up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you have to skip twice in a row.
And you do the show, so you have insight into that. Is that how much control do you have over where the ads go?
So you have a little bit of control. Like we have certain places that we try to drop ads so that they're not so intrusive. But we don't choose. Like people will sometimes email me and they're like, "I'm getting these weird ads on your videos," and I'm like, I have no control.
Did they say like what they
over that.
were?
Yeah, sometimes they're like, "Oh, Michael Bloomberg was advertising on our videos."
That was happening a lot
graphics,
during the election.
which was hilarious. Yeah, and somebody was like, "Oh, I get these weird like dental implant ads."
Yep.
I'm like, "Okay, well, I think that everybody gets those."
Yep.
But yeah, you have a little bit of control, not a lot. You
Yep.
can only make sure that they're
And
not like really
that-
interrupting you.
That always confused me because the adpocalypse, like the whole crux of that issue was that the companies who advertise on YouTube didn't want their advertisements attached to content that they didn't feel aligned with their company
Right.
values. But if someone's YouTube channel is their company, who says that they want an advertisement from a company,
Yeah,
another
great-
company that doesn't
great
align
point.
with their company values?
It's a great point.
That kind of is one of the interesting starting points of like this weird kind of stage we're in where companies have to pretend to care.
stage
capitalism. Thank you. That's she did it
Dun, dun,
exactly.
dun.
I
And-
call it peak capitalism. Yeah.
But it's this. No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about activism as a form of business.
yeah.
In LGBTQ circles, that's literally called rainbow capitalism, where it's like every June, right? They put the pride flag on
It's
all
on
their
its
stuff.
way
Freaking
now.
Oreos.
Can't
and-
wait.
Ah.
Except all of the like Saudi Arabian branches of those
Oh,
companies.
yeah, they all stay the
never
same.
changed their
So
avies on
weird.
Twitter.
Yep. So it says in fact many of the biggest players in the fast space. So it says fast is industry jargon. So it says as consumers grapple with higher subscription costs, with more subscription offerings than ever, those companies in the free ad-supported streaming space, that's what they refer to as fast. I don't know what the T stands for. So I guess the ST in stream, usually referred to as fast. So that's its own genre of streaming, right? It says, in fact, many of the biggest players in the fast space will be familiar to close followers of the entertainment businesses like Pluto TV, which is owned by Paramount. And of course, they have Paramount Plus, which is your paid version. There's Tubi, which is owned by Fox Corp. And then there's Freevee, which is formerly IMDb TV, owned by Amazon. And then there's Peacock, which is they have the free tier under NBC Universal, and then the Roku channel. The funny thing is like a lot of the shows that I love from like the mid 2000s are all on these free ones, but I'm like looking for a paid version so that I don't have to watch the ads. It shows like there was a lot of the Canadian shows that I loved, like
Right.
Continuum or Lost Girl. All were like really good shows, but they're just not licensed in America. So the only place you're finding them is on these free services.
Have you tried an ad blocker or VPN?
Well, I'm using it on my TV. I don't know if you can do
yeah,
that.
that's a
I don't
little
know if that would work on your Roku.
Not
Not that I guess it's not really illegal, but like not that I would.
aren't illegal.
Back in the day, I would have been a Johnny Depp pirate, and I would have sailed the high seas
the
to get
high
them.
seas.
Back in the day, maybe sort of. I'm
So it
not.
goes.
I admit to nothing.
I don't know. Let's try.
All of the services combine a wealth of TV license and movie content, in some cases from the library of their corporate parents. So that's like you have to look beyond underneath each layer is like their parent corporation. They mentioned up here, they mentioned Fox Corp, but Fox was sold to Disney. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 20th Century Fox, the studio was sold to Disney, except for they weren't allowed to purchase the news or the sports segment of those divisions for fear of monopoly in those industries. So that was like a rare example of like, I'm sure they would have taken it all, but they weren't able to take those divisions of Fox. So those remained independent. So it says all of these services combine a wealth of TV content. It says in the evidence that consumers may be receptive, but there was a certain number in here that I thought was really fascinating. And now I'm looking to find out where it was. They talked about 12 minutes per, like the average person is okay with 12 minutes of ad content per 1 hour, which is
huge.
That's actually less on network TV. If you look at if you go watch your shows on Netflix, something that was an hour-long drama, they run between 42.5 to 44 minutes. That is the sweet spot that the episodes have to be that long, because it's usually 18 minutes of ad time per episode. So 12 minutes, as long as that sounds like, isn't even as much as you would have gotten when you were watching on network TV. It just shows you how much your brain has been splattered with stuff they're trying to sell you for all these years.
Yeah.
Netflix without ads already feels like a sensory bombardment because they have a setting on there that just auto plays whatever show you're scrolling on. And you can't turn it off.
And it says Netflix is down 200,000 viewers. We've talked about that before. When that wouldn't be as big if they if they had announced that we're going to have a slow quarter, but they expected a 2.5 million subscriber growth, not a loss in subscribers. And I don't know how much of that. It says that's partially due to the situation in Russia and Ukraine, but also potentially due to account sharing and a number of other factors. But what they don't get is the optics of that, or do more to get people to actually pay. They keep me on Netflix just because I need to have NCIS to fall asleep to.
They're not in the business of adding value.
No.
They really think that since you're subscribed, you're just going to forget. They rely on people just subscribing to things and forgetting that they did that. And then having mini subscriptions within subscriptions.
Even banks have started to implement features that tell you you've got repeat. It looks like you're getting a repeat charge.
Truebill is a great app for that.
For multiple multiple streaming services. And Netflix is on is the more expensive side of these things anyways. I really do recommend.
What is it, 15 a month?
It's 15 or 16 a month.
That's insane.
Don't miss that. So glad I'm done.
I don't even have enough time in a month to be watching that much. Even 15 minutes, $1 per minute
but here's
of entertainment.
What they can do, I keep HBO Max, and this is what you were talking about, about having content that adds value. I keep HBO Max because they have all of the DC animated movies. I find value in that, so that's worth it for me to pay it, even if I don't always have time to be watching it. The idea that I can put it on in the background, even if I'm not doing anything at the time, I can't always pay close attention. So every one of them's looking for that niche. Amazon Prime just bought all of the rights to James Bond. So they're going to have all the movies from there. So you have to go there for more than just... and Amazon Prime is actually probably the worst as far as the actual layout of the app, because it lays it out by season. So you could click on a show thinking you're clicking on the show, and you're actually getting season 4 of the show.
Yeah.
And you have no idea why. So they need to rethink how that works. But so 12 minutes of advertising, I actually find that $15 is worth not...
Not dealing with
I'll
the
pay with
If
that.
you hate advertisements that much, then it's your judgment.
It's very much a case of cost-benefit analysis, because if Netflix has enough shows that you care enough about that you're willing to pay however much per month just to avoid the ads on them, that's fine. That's worth it. You just have to figure out what your time is worth and what you're willing to put up with.
But think about this: if they don't have, if they're not growing content, if there's not content that adds value, and they're adding you a paid version of ads, when you can just go watch Pluto or Tubi or Freevee with ads anyways and not pay anything for it, why wouldn't you just do that?
That's what I would do.
There's not enough good Netflix originals to do that. Ozark season 4 is getting panned, as far as I know. And
really?
people, I don't really care about Stranger Things enough to
There's new Stranger Things, the college years.
Yeah, we're about there, right? McKenna Grace is 16 now or 17 now. So
and then they keep just shitting out these 1 or 2 season shows.
Like I said,
or a mini series here and there.
That seems to be the new thing to do, is things that since they know that a lot of these shows don't get a good season 2, what they're doing is Inventing Anna's not going to get 2 seasons. Inventing Anna's designed to be a 1 season type show. Or Tiger King is getting a 2nd season, but did it really need a 2nd season?
To be fair, I do think that the longer, and this is something I've noticed with almost every single TV show, the longer they go on, the worse they get. This is why you always hear, oh, I really like the first seasons, the later ones, not so much.
The CW is notorious for this. The CW does great first season, and then the wokeness just kind of slowly seeps in from there because they don't know where else to do. They're like, we told
Can
this.
you give an example of that?
Arrow started off as a really interesting show about a billionaire who becomes like basically a killing machine on an island for 5 years and then comes back to protect the city from wealthy criminals. And it slowly becomes a team show with a bunch of people you don't care about. He's got his original 3 people, but it becomes more about social justice stuff with like Felicity Smoke's character getting way more. I'm going to retract that. It has elements of that, but that's not really. It's more the fact that the screen time starts getting dispersed amongst all these characters that nobody really feels a strong connection to.
Yeah, even the woke messaging stuff isn't always
Legends of Tomorrow.
the main problem. Sometimes it's just that the quality of the writing is just downhill.
Yes, Legends of Tomorrow went that direction, but stayed fun. Supergirl got really bad.
Yeah, super bad.
As bad as Batwoman was in season 1, it got even worse in season 2 and 3. And that's because I do believe that Arrow and The Flash, which were legitimately good shows given the budget's constraints of being on that network, which is much lower than your average. The best example you get is if you watch like a season 1 episode of Supergirl when it was on CBS, it looks vastly different than what season 2 did once it moved to CW because the budget just isn't there to make it look as good.
CW has trash
but
budgets.
But those first 2 seasons of both Arrow and The Flash are legitimately good superhero television with strong storytelling. But after that, you're like, where do we go? And it becomes this weird. The only people that find value in it were the people who stayed along for the ride, so you understand all of the references. But the story goes and becomes more about all of these people, and it becomes diluted and just less fun. Superman and Lois has managed to avoid that for the most part, but it's only on season 2. And as far as I know, season 1 was done by HBO Max, which means there was more money put into it. Like there's noticeably less action in season 2 because they don't have the budget to show Superman doing Superman stuff all the time because it costs more money to do that in a good way. So the best thing you can do, I think, is to do limited run series. I started watching We Own the City last night. The first 2 episodes are very, very good, even if it's, I don't know if either of you watch The Wire. But We Own the City is basically the spiritual successor to The Wire. It's about a group of corrupt cops from Baltimore in 2014, the Gun Trace Task Force, which was famously corrupt, and I think all those guys are still in jail, were prosecuted. And the show it's not as good as The Wire because you can't do TV like that now without it being at least a little bit messagey and preachy in certain places, but it's far better than most things. But I wouldn't want a season 2. Like if they do, I don't want it to go on for more than 1 season.
Here's the thing. I think you don't represent the rest of the population. You're an anomaly in that you care about like the quality of what you're watching. And for the most part, everyone else just kind of turns something on to turn themselves off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. I love that type of entertainment. I love stuff with escapist, messageless entertainment.
But when you say that, I think it means something different. When you say escapist, it just means like something fun, lighthearted, that you can immerse yourself in the story. But like when other people have escapist entertainment, it's literally just to like not think, and not engage with anything that is in front of them.
Yeah.
It depresses me because I watch so many shows from like 2008 to 2010 that worked within network TV rules. With far smaller budgets than are being thrown at a lot of these shows. Netflix is a bad example because they're literally flooding the market with so much content that they can't give large budgets to a lot of these projects. So it's like you hear times about time crunch and poor pay for animators and stuff like that. But the industry is bigger than it ever was, and the storytelling is even worse than it ever was before. So that's that kind of breaks my heart that streaming ended up being. Everyone thought it would be the thing that saves these industries, and it ended up making it worse. I mean, along with a lot of social issues, and I think part of it might be that when there was only a couple of major cable networks, premium cable and network TV, and far less choices, only the best writers got jobs. Now, with so much stuff that needs to get made, anybody can be hired.
That's a good point.
And it's just not good.
Right,
like,
and there's not even as much money to put towards special effects and towards good casting, which makes it really boring. It makes it very subpar. But I think it works well for most people because we do have such an epidemic of loneliness that people are willing to just turn on their TV just for noise. I've heard so many people say, I just turned it on so I don't feel alone. That's really sad to me, but it's what happens.
And they're
That's the
capitalizing
market.
off of that
Yeah.
and want to exacerbate the issue.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be because I'm like aware of these issues in culture because we work here.
Yeah, you're paying
But-
attention,
But
for
like
sure.
in general, the average person might not realize it until they're actually aware of what's going on. But,
Right.
my hope is that Netflix continues to lose money so that not that I want people to lose their jobs, but I want them to actually try to make changes and figure out a way to actually add value back to the product.
Yeah.
I feel like if you work at Netflix, you've got skills that you can offer somewhere else,
Literally
where you're
anywhere
not.
Yeah.
Just
What we should-
like
Does Elon Musk have to buy Netflix too?
Yes, he does. Let's do it.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Elon Musk needs to buy Netflix and just
is that just the magic fix for everything
yeah.
now?
That's you just
Get Elon to buy it.
You just get Space Daddy to buy it, and you're fine. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.